Good morning. What was I gonna say? So today's quarantine adventure is brought to you by a few things. It's brought to you by all of my friends who have been baking like amazing quarantine foods and doing all of these like bread adventures and sourdough loaves and self-starters and amazing meals, and also by a few different things that I like to watch on YouTube. So I've seen other people do what I'm about to do, probably most notably the Try Guys do their Without a Recipe series. Recently, Amazing Phil did one where he made himself a birthday cake. And also he referenced this, but I love it too, on the Great British Bake Off when they do technical bakes where the bakers get a recipe with super limited instructions and have to sort of just go for it. Today I am going to be baking something without knowing any of the particulars of what I should be doing. When I decided that I wanted to do this, I figured I should pick something that I really like to eat in case it goes like terribly badly, because I don't like to waste food and I'm determined to eat whatever is made. So I've picked something that I love, which is crumb cake. I had my dad look up a recipe that didn't look too complicated but also looked delicious. This is what he came up with, and then he read out the ingredients and I wrote them down on this piece of paper. Oh my god, trying to explain what I wanted to do to my dad was like amazing, because he is not a YouTube guy and he has basically no concept of sort of challenges like this. So I was explaining it to him and he just kept looking at me like, I'm just gonna like dive right in and go for it. I'm gonna go for 350. That's what my heart is saying, so I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for 350. Right, so I remember from watching some cake episodes of baking shows that you should start with like your butter and sugar. I actually got up early and took the butter out of the fridge so it would be soft. And it is still, it's soft, but it's still kind of like, all right, here we go. Butter. I've taken out basically the equivalent of 2.5 sticks of butter, which would be like a cup and a half. And I'm gonna go for that. That is a cup of butter. To me, that looks like a lot. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with it. I think I'm gonna do a cup of butter, and then I'm gonna do a cup of sugar. And then they'll be exactly in proportion. And that will mean that I'm right. Yes, right, okay. Whenever I watch baking shows, all the experts are like, baking is a science. I really strongly believe that. I also am the kind of baker who will just be like, looks flat. I do own a mechanical mixer, but for some reason, I don't really trust them. Do you know what? I mean, like, all I've done is put butter and sugar in a bowl, but I'm like, I wanna be like, wow, it looks great. I have no idea. Yay! We ran out of flour like instantly after quarantine started, and then we sort of like delayed getting some. So I was like, one day when my dad was going to the store, I was like, can you go get flour? And he got me this. It's like the size of an infant. And I love it just as much as I would my own child. Okay. So I think of all the ingredients that go into a cake, I think there needs to be the most of flour. I think sugar's probably second. I think there needs to be a lot of flour. So I'm gonna do 2 cups. You know what? I'm gonna put just like a little more, and I can always regret it later. I theoretically kind of understand what it does. But then like baking powder and baking soda are apparently different, and I think I've looked it up on Google like 12 times and I still don't know what the difference is. I think also there's a serving size on this, like that could be useful actually. I was just about to make fun of it. I was like who would eat baking soda? But then, wait, baking powder? Yeah, okay, I have the right thing. But then I'm like, okay, well, if I know that I'm making about 10 servings of cake, would it work that I should just multiply that by 10, or is that ridiculous? That would give me 2 teaspoons, basically. And that's not like a ridiculous number. I was gonna go for less. And I think like generally because of what I'm doing in terms of the flour and the sugar, I should go for a bit less. but maybe like 1.5 teaspoons wouldn't be so bad. Okay, so my last ingredient to go in is salt. I reckon like it's like less than you think, so I might just go for 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using my hand to mix them. This is my version of a hand mixer. I love making terrible jokes, but they're not funny to anyone but me. When my dad was giving out the recipe, I think he was like trying not to give away how much of anything there was. So he was going down and he was like flour, granulated sugar, baking powder, salt, and then he was like egg. And he said it with such like an inflection that I was like, I don't know if he's trying to be like vague or if he's trying to tell me that I should only put 1 egg. I'm gonna start with milk just because I feel confident that like there shouldn't be that much milk. I've done like 1 cup of everything. I think I need to do less milk. I'm sort of like between putting in like 1/2 cup and 3/4 of a cup. So because of that, I've got this brilliant line that says 2/3 of a cup. I'm gonna go for that, and I'm gonna add it into the butter sugar. As I was pouring it, I got less and less confident. So I've actually stopped just shy of the 2/3 cup line. I figure with milk, the nice thing is you can always add more. You can't add less. I guess I could add more flour, but I'm gonna just like stick with what I have because my heart is saying not to add too much and throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right, I'm gonna do canola oil, vegetable oil. I feel pretty confident about this because I've done lots of brownie mixes in my time, lots of cake mixes, and you don't add that much oil. This also has loads of butter in it, so I think like adding too many oils would just make it kind of soggy. And usually in a brownie mix, you'll add like 1 tablespoon of oil. I've only got about 1 tablespoon of oil, so I feel like the universe is just pointing this one in the right direction for me. That's what I'm gonna do. I feel confident about that. Of everything that I've done today, I feel the most confident about this step. Okay, now I've got left vanilla extract and egg. I'm gonna do vanilla extract. I think usually when you put it, it's only in the range of like between 1 teaspoon and 2 teaspoons. Because I'm doing everything pretty small, I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon. Yes, 1 lovely teaspoon. The last ingredient to go into my cake is egg. Now, I've been stalling on this for a few reasons. One is because of the ominous way in which my dad informed me of the egg being in the cake, and the other being that I actually watched the Amazing Phil video a few days ago, and I remember he put in like 3 or 4 eggs, and then he was like, I'm just gonna put up how many should actually be in it, and it was 2. And he was doing a cake as well. So I'm like, all right, do I go with what my gut is saying in terms of like doing a box mix, which would be 1 egg, or do I just go for what is like a more recent thing in terms of a recipe for cake? That would be 2. All right, I'm gonna go for 2. I'm gonna like, that's like a brave decision to make. Usually I'd be kind of like conservative and be like, well, I'll just put 1, but I don't think baking works like that. I don't think like being conservative is like safer in the way that like if you were guessing how many jelly beans are in a jar, a conservative guess might be good. I think baking, you're either right or wrong. Here we go, watch. Whoa! As soon as I started mixing this, I felt regret about doing 2 eggs. The moment of truth has arrived. It's all going together. The batter is going to be made. Here we go. I am mixing these things, and I will say this is not the consistency of cake batter. It's kind of like getting doughy. I feel as if maybe my wet ingredients are out of proportion to my dry ingredients. I am going to add a bit more milk and see if that helps. Not too much, but just like in little increments until I feel better about it. Yes, I think that's helping. So this is what it looks like. You can have a look there. It's still pretty thick and it's still got some lumps, but I think like it's probably as good as it's gonna get, and I don't really feel confident adding more things to it and like messing with the proportions I already established. So I'm gonna stick it in my baking pan. I'm gonna whack it in the oven. Just as a refresher, I've set the oven for 350 degrees. My plan is to bake it for 40 minutes. I think if I put the crumb in for the last 10, that seems reasonable. So I think that's gonna be my game plan. So for the crumb, I'm supposed to do brown sugar, flour, and cinnamon. Now, I have taken all of the brown sugar we had in the house and put it in this bowl. Now, I think probably I'm gonna want about the same amount of brown sugar and flour and significantly less cinnamon because cinnamon's strong. Kind of want to use my hands this time. Yeah. I think for the crumb, you've got to get in. You've got to get in there on the crumb. You know what I'm saying? Ooh. If anyone is like wanting to have the sensory experience of what this is like, it's kind of starting to remind me of kinetic sand, only less satisfying. And kinetic sand I find very satisfying. Play along at home. Grab your kinetic sand, dump it in a bowl. Pretend you're here making dubious crumb cake with me in the kitchen with Elena. I already think I maybe put too much flour, so I'm like super glad that I didn't put any more than I did because I've got no more brown sugar, so I can't fix this. What's done is done and cannot be undone. This is the exact same stakes as Macbeth. Oh my God, I was like sitting down and I completely forgot that I was shooting this video, and then I was like, oh my God, there's cake. So we've got 8 minutes left, and I opened the oven and I was like, oh, you know what? It still looks pretty moist. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just like you do. It feels pretty cooked through. I think I need to add the crumb because I don't want it to burn. You see the edges are getting kind of golden. So I'm actually gonna take it out, add the crumb, and then pop it back in. The crumb. Okay, we got about 1 minute left on the cake, and I am nervous. I'm hoping that when the timer goes off and I open the oven, it looks like, oh my God. Okay, right, so let's have a look. Oh my God, it smells, okay, it smells really nice. Let's see. Okay, I have cut the cake and I am trying to get a piece out. Do you know what? It looks really dense, and like when I picked it up, it was super heavy, but I don't know if that's okay for pound cake. Maybe it'll all be okay. All right, there we go. Right, so this is the recipe that I was technically following, and it says 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, I did 1 tablespoon of oil, but it also
healthier.
Now you're in it.
Healthier.
It also says 4 cups of flour, and I only did 2.
That's really good.
Is it really bad?
No, it's been very sweet.
Is it? Okay, well that's
Just like you.
Right, well that's because it says 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and I put 1 cup. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I did 1.5, so that's close. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's what I did. I did one thing right. I did one thing exactly right. Okay, 1 egg. I did 2 eggs. Okay, I did like a full cup of milk. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I did 1. I did 1 cup of brown sugar. Okay, okay, I did teaspoons ground cinnamon. That was right. 1 cup of butter. That's right. Oh my gosh. Calm down. Calm down. So I've now made this cake, and I've made my dad eat it, so I figure I should eat it. I'm gonna eat it.
I guess the flour would have held the crumbs together.
That's not bad, though.
It's not bad. It's just sweet.
You know what? The crumb is really sweet, but the cake is actually not.
No, cake is good.
The cake is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with myself for not looking at the recipe and for just kind of guessing everything. It actually came out good, and I'm actually going to eat it. I'm gonna eat like the whole freaking thing. So I think today was a huge success for like baking, for the food industry, for science, and for me. Everyone stay well, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.